Hey, welcome back to the second episode of the Seven Figure Real Estate Show. I'm here with my co-host Jack, and I'm Nick. I have Will with us today, and he is here to talk to us about how he got started in real estate. He started selling real estate at 19. He's now 22 years old, sold about just over $11 million in real estate last year. He's here to tell us a story and how he did that. So hopefully you can pick up some nuggets from this, and hopefully I will too.
Will, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much. This is great. I'm really excited to sit down and talk with you. I've kind of seen you working in the office and crushing it, and it's just been really fun to see. I'm somebody who just loves to see people succeed, and it's been super cool. So I'm glad that I get to sit down and pick your brain and see how you're doing it, because I just love more knowledge.
Yes. So I think we should start kind of at like the very beginning. What even got you into real estate in the first place?
Sure. So pretty simply, I mean, it's a position that you can do without a college education, and you can make as much money as you want.
Right? Yeah, it's no ceiling, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So did you never want to go to college?
No, I actually have, I have a couple years into a degree. I'll get the degree someday just to check the box.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I was all for education.
Yeah.
However, when you find something you're good at, you kind of run with it.
So, did you just wake up one day and like, I want to sell real estate? Were you watching a TV show? How did you get here?
Yeah. So it's a pretty interesting story. I was actually working on my degree for information technology. That was my passion. I was really good at it. Mm-hmm. The cybersecurity track, working in IT. I was doing some IT consulting work for a gentleman I was introduced to who had a large real estate portfolio. Yeah. He was a real estate agent back in the day, and I was implementing some technology systems to help him streamline his business. And he told me, when I was getting back into the college, year, he said, you should get your real estate license. I think you'd really do well with it. You're too good at people to be doing IT.
Yeah. Is he local?
He is. Yeah.
Local Maine?
So has a Maine portfolio.
That's great.
Larger investor group. And he kind of pushed me out the door. He said, go give it a shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. So how old were you when that happened?
I was 18 years old. Was working with him like my senior summer. And then, started the college thing. Worked on getting my license. Then right after my 19th birthday, had my license and walked on into Keller Williams Realty.
Okay.
So did you drop out of school right from there, or did you kind of keep going for a little bit?
Kept going for a little bit.
Okay.
We'll get into it. Once you start seeing success at a certain point, you've got to jump all in.
Right.
Exactly. So at what point was that for you? Because you sold how much real estate in your first year at 19?
First year at 19, close to $7.5 million, over $100,000 in net income for myself. So that was like, boom. Wow.
So at that point you were on a team.
Yep. So I was a buyer agent, or, mainly worked with buyers on a team, still working, a lot of my own business too. However, learned a lot, had some great opportunities on there. And then transitioned as a solo agent about 2 years into the business, went out on my own. And then that's about when I made the decision, I'm a business owner now.
Sure.
What is more important to me right now? Growing my business and having this opportunity. I can get the degree anytime.
Right.
So run with
it. So let me ask you, I want to just kind of wrap this up in a nice bow for somebody.
Yeah.
So you're 19 years old.
Yep.
You sell $7 million in real estate, which is over $200,000 in gross commission, but you pocketed about over $100,000.
Little over 100. Yep.
So at 19, you've got $100,000 that you're walking around little jingle jangle.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty awesome.
That was cool. How did that feel? And like, what was that like in your friendships? And I mean, people must have been like, oh damn, this 19-year-old kid just made $100,000.
Well, that's how, people in the real estate business might have seen it. I felt like, it's just normal. I'm not flashy. I didn't, go buy nice cars. I was still going to college like a regular kid, not talking about any of this. The light bulb moment for me was, professors in classes talking about, you might be able to make $75,000, someday. Technology can be lucrative. However, if you're making $100,000, that's probably 5 to 6 years in. Yep. Entry level, even with a cybersecurity degree, you might be making $25 an hour working at a help desk for a while. So that was kind of the light bulb moment. I'm thinking,
yeah,
I just made probably what I would make in IT, doing something that was really fun.
Yeah. Well, and in Portland, you made twice the average income.
Yeah,
twice.
Yeah, as a
19-year-old kid. And so you were working obviously team leads, but also your own sphere.
Correct. Yeah. And I'll say I had no sphere of influence. I wasn't, super outgoing extrovert in high school. Most of my parents had agents of choice, so I didn't really get business that way. Really worked, open houses, worked my listings. Whenever I got a listing, I pounded the pavement.
How'd you get listings?
My first listing in the business was referred to me, not referred to me, but I met this gentleman through the real estate investor I was working with. And he had a house to sell, and I kind of just stayed on him, provided value. I got a buyer transaction out of him, helped them buy, and then helped them sell. And that's a great story, as we get into it, how I leveraged that opportunity. Everything I've done, I've really worked with what I had and really focused on it. And I'll just tell you, help them buy a place and then help them sell a place. And off that one listing, I converted leads that were coming in off of my sign calls, people wanting, open house tours. I converted that to six or seven transactions through that one opportunity.
Yeah. So listings create babies.
Correct.
What type of listing agreement did you hop into with that first listing? Was it like, because I would imagine that, a potential seller wouldn't want to hop into an exclusive seller agreement, I think is the right terminology, with a 19-year-old kid. Did you kind of approach him and say, hey, I'll sell your house for you, but if I don't sell it, I don't take a commission?
No. So it was, just like a typical agreement I'd signed today. So, really thankful that those folks gave me the opportunity. And, I hate to say, but I attribute my success to those folks giving the opportunity. That was like a great launching pad for me, honestly. And that's, a relationship I still have to this day. I've helped them purchase investment property. So it's really cool to see that, those are folks that gave you a chance.
Right. So that listing though, were you part of the team still?
Yes, but I took that on my own, had training and systems through Keller Williams, which is like the biggest blessing. I see so many new agents have no idea what they're doing. And I felt, I was able to provide great service. Yes, I was new. However, I had all the tools I needed.
Yeah, exactly. You're able to provide the value.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science here.
Yeah.
If you're able to provide the value, check the boxes, get the job done, market the property where it needs to be marketed so you get the highest dollar possible in the shortest amount of time, or the time frame that the seller wants. That's the key. That's the key.
And my value proposition has changed. Back then it was, this is the only thing I have going on. I've got no children, no wife. I've got no obligations. I'm going to sell your house. And they really appreciated the work ethic.
Sure.
Knocking on doors, getting the neighbors involved. However, that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. Just telling them I'm going to outwork anybody.
Yeah.
So all right. So you make over $100,000 at 19, and then at this point you're 20, and then you say, all right, you kind of realize the difference between the whole college track and then going the real estate track, and now you're like fully committed at 20 to real estate. What happens now?
So second year in the business, 19 to 20, and then 20 to 21, I was still on the team, starting to really pick up steam, understanding the business. Honestly, start to get kind of burned out doing the, same thing over and over. And, I was kind of at a point where I needed to, fly or figure something else out. I had a lot of rope to do my own thing on the team. However, I wanted to grow my own business, be my own business owner, and also get a lot of my time back. A lot of obligations if it's not the right cultural fit. So, I was ready to, fly, is what I'd say. So made that decision. Really thankful for the opportunities I had. I learned so much. However, kind of jumped out. I was still going through college finals at the time, right about April last year, made the decision, went out, finished that year of school. And then, started my business from square one again. Really very limited sphere of influence, nothing in the pipeline, jumping into quarter two with nothing going on, no signs, no lock boxes, starting from zero.
So as we know, or at least as we know, your database is key. So when you say that you don't have a sphere of influence, what do you have kind of an idea of how many people you had in your database? And that's one of the key things, guys, is you really need to start building your database. So like if you want to get into this business, then you need to start doing that now. You're writing down everybody's name and phone number, and you're putting it in. It's on a notepad. And your database may be a notepad at that time or an Excel spreadsheet. But so how many people did you have access to, like in April of 2022?
So coming through this year, much more than I had when I first started.
Sure.
However, still pretty limited. Past clients, people that know, like, trust me, probably about 100 people.
Yeah.
However, that's really not how I got my business. And if you're young, yes, you should have a database, but if you don't, there's other ways to get business. So I really focused on other lead generation models.
Like what?
So a couple different ways I get business. Houses that didn't sell the first time.
Expireds.
Yep. For sale by owners. Networking.
Yeah.
Direct marketing efforts. So whether that be mail, circle prospecting, making phone calls, knocking on doors. And then also I say, I don't have a huge sphere of influence, but the folks that do know, like, trust me, they're raving fans. They will stop traffic to refer me out. So really just, loving.
You've trained them to do that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this is how I need you to show to support me.
And I've held people accountable. I was just sending a message to, a title person the other day, and, it's like, hey, another file coming your way. She's like, just sent somebody your way too. So I've trained people. The expectation, if I'm going to send you business, I expect it in return.
100%.
Politely, but I've set that expectation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, which is only fair.
Totally.
Right.
I was freaked out to ask for the business. I never would do that my first 2 years. However, once you get the confidence level that I can help people and people need my help, you really start to put it out there.
Sure.
And how do you do that? Through like positive affirmation, like when someone, sends you business, like you really go out of your way to thank them. And how do you go about that?
Well, I just ask people, who do you know that would appreciate the same great level of service I've offered? Because I know there's a lot of agents that might not work like Nick and I, and they might have a pretty crummy real estate experience. So I want to elevate that. And I make it very clear that I'm, willing to go above and beyond for the folks I work with. And I'll tell you, once you have the confidence you're doing the business, you become the person that is willing to ask for the business. When you're brand new, it's probably pretty tough to call the 150 people in your phone and ask them, hey, I just got my real estate license.
Yeah, I just got my real estate license.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's different, right? Hey, it's all in, NLP. It's all in how you say it.
Exactly.
Right? It's not, hey, I just got my real estate license. Like, hey, I've started a new career.
Yeah.
Or I'm heading down a new path, or, whatever that looks like. I'm really excited to be able to provide value to people. So it's all in how you want to phrase things, which helps. So it sounds like you've been practicing scripts and things along those lines to get you, comfortable.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Is learning, people always they hate on the scripts and the sales because they think it's too salesy. However, getting in the business, I knew, not a limiting belief, but statistically, I have less opportunity than the average agent that might be, 35, 45, because my database is smaller. So when I go on an appointment, I need to nail every opportunity I have. And that is through knowing the common objections that come up and nailing my presentation. So practicing the scripts every single day until you know them verbatim. And then you can personalize them so you don't sound like a robot.
I got the comment, scripty, scripts, and I don't want to sound scripty. I want to be more organic. And
this doesn't sound like me is a common objection. Yeah.
Right. But if you learn that, then you can personalize it. You can, you build the foundation first, and then you can personalize things. And what I also have found is our lives are scripted. I mean, you say this, you go to the counter and buy gas, you're saying the same thing to that gas attendant that you say every time. You go to the counter at the bank, you're saying the same thing to that teller. You're picking up the phone and you're saying this, so your life is scripted, and you're getting those scripts from your parents, your friends, all of this stuff. So you're actually, if you really think about it, you're saying the same stuff over and over and over every day, but you're saying it in your own words. So when you get a script and you internalize it, you're just learning how to talk to a fellow, client.
And it helps your clients in the long run, because when something comes to me, I know what to say. So my personal emotions aren't involved, my personal opinions. It's, here's what we need to do.
Right.
I've done this time and time again. So we're helping people in the process, and, we're becoming better sales people, which we are at the end of the day. It's a relationship business. However, we are in the sales business.
You know what I loved you say, I'm sorry.
You're good.
What I loved you say earlier is, you want to elevate the business. And I came into real estate going, I want to make this a professional business. When I started, because it was when I first started, and, it was, we're one step above used car salesmen.
Yep.
We are, housewives do it part-time. Yep. You're a kitchen broker. There was very limited, there were people, but there were at least in our market, very limited people that were professional agents. And what I've loved to see is with this younger generation coming in, they're like, this is a career. And I'm going to make it a career. So that's going to become a profession, right?
To your point, I was almost kind of embarrassed not going through with college. Oh, Will's just a real estate agent. It's step above used car salesman, which in hindsight, now that I have the confidence, you're a professional agent. However, unfortunately, there's still a lot of people that, are not professionals. A lot of people in the Western Maine market that I'm working in, it's a different level of service. It's older school. So for me, it's, a luxury experience for everyday people is what I've strived to create.
That's a great line.
Well, yeah, I think a big part of it too is the barrier to entry. So you think about for example, I come from a world of trading stocks. The barrier to entry is you just buy a brokerage and deposit $5,000 into it. The barrier for real estate is it's a little harder than trading stocks, but anyone can pass a simple real estate course and then pass an exam.
Yeah, in the state of Maine, to become qualified to cut somebody's hair, it's 1,500 hours.
Yeah,
or 18. I think. Can you check that out, Will? I think it's 1,500 or 1,800 hours.
Right,
1,500 to 2,000 hours. That's amazing.
To cut hair.
Cut hair.
And make,
don't get me wrong. I pay my hairdresser, and I love him, and he's awesome, and I can't do it myself. Yeah. That's actually something else I do tell the people which is, hey, listen, I can cut my own hair, but I don't. I hire a professional to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why you want to hire me.
I like that. That's a good.
Love
analogy.
that.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know?
Yeah.
So to become a real estate agent, Jack,
60
Jack, what did you just do?
60-hour course and then like a
Yeah. And you did it in
hour-long
what,
test.
2 weeks?
Yeah, I finished the
2
course
weeks
in
and took
2
a
weeks.
test.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to sell somebody's most valuable asset.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
Right. When I got my license, I was in college, was in study mode. I read a book,
Yeah.
signed up for the test, and passed.
I had
Crammed, yeah.
When I was in college, I had a buddy who we sat in economics class. We sat in the back of the class, and during that class, it was a pretty easy class. So during the when the teacher was speaking, he would just do his real estate course.
Yeah.
And throughout the entire semester, he used that time to do his real estate course, and he had his license in Florida by the end.
Right.
But anyways, the barrier to entry is very minimal, but actually developing like the systems and checklists and the networking abilities is what takes a lot of time. And is arguably sometimes, might be harder than a college degree because it isn't guided. It's something that you kind of have to be creative and self-motivate.
We hope you're enjoying this episode today. We partner with the CE Shop to help you get licensed in over 27 states in the United States. Reach out to us today so you can make your way to a 7-figure real estate agent. Please go check out the show notes and go to my website, www.danburygarin.com. If you are interested in buying or selling real estate in the state of Maine, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to help you grow your net worth.
So how did you develop these systems? And you said scripts. Is this something that you had a mentor that gave these to you, or is this something that you just kind of developed on your own?
What's great about real estate and being at a company like Keller Williams Realty is the models are out there.
It's built.
And people are willing to share. I mean, Nick jumps on these scripts calls. He's sharing what he's learned being in the business over 20 years. People are willing to help you. You just need to implement it. A lot of people, they just get ready, learn. Just you got to go out and fall a couple times, and everything's out there. I mean, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it's the Red Bible.
It's a red Bible.
Everything you need to do, you just need to follow it. That's
Exactly.
the truth.
And that's what's really cool about what we're doing with this podcast and kind of grow a community is that Nick and I, we're taking your systems that, you've used, improved for the last 40 years, and then giving them to you guys, the viewers, and then turning, because the barrier to entry is low, but the hard part is actually, making sales and helping that 19-year-old kid who's motivated and wants to sell real estate use our systems that are tried and true and work.
Right.
And help them kind of get that head start.
Exactly.
I'll share anything because I know my competition, they might do it once, however, they're not going to continue to do it. Right. It's a consistency game. I could give you the recipe to some great cookies, but the way you make them is different than how my grandmother makes them. It's a great example.
Yeah, that's an awesome example. And even if somebody does take your systems and implement it, and they become your competition, the way I look at it is, you're just going to make me better.
Competition breeds improvement.
I'm just going to get better. I mean, look at this podcast. I started doing it on my phone, and then I hired somebody with one camera, and now I'm sitting here with 3 cameras, 3 microphones, 4 headsets, somebody behind a board. You're always constantly want to improve.
Yeah, that's funny. I like that.
But I do shock people when I'm like, listen, when you're interviewing agents, you got to interview the professional.
Yeah.
Because this is how hard it is to become a real estate agent.
Kind of frightening.
Right. It's very frightening.
Well, there's a lot of competition too. In terms of there's actually a lot of real, especially now that because what was because you got into real estate when you were 21, and you were saying that when you got into real estate back then, it was almost crazy that you were getting in at such a young age. But now it's I think, we're at Keller Williams in Portland, Maine. We were asking one of the assistants, how many 18-year-olds work at Keller Williams, and there's 5. 5. And this in Portland, which is as far as cities go, pretty small.
Right.
So now it's all of a sudden, the barrier to entry is low. So you have all these young kids getting into it, but now there's a lot more agents to pick from when you're selling your house. So, how do you separate yourself from the other agents?
Yeah. And Will said it's your elevator pitch. What's your value proposition that somebody would want to work with you? And Will's, one of the things Will said is, I'm going to give you a luxury experience in a non-luxury market. Right, something.
Luxury experience for everyday people.
Yeah,
and
the luxury experience for everyday people. That is huge. I mean, it's because the everyday person isn't going to get the luxury experience. Most people. I just had a transaction with a client, a conditional offer, so that they had to sell another house to be able to purchase my listing.
Very hard to do in this.
Hard to do in this market, but we took it because it was a good, the house that they needed to sell was a good house in a great location. I was like, oh, that's easy to sell.
Slam dunk.
It got listed. I looked at the photos, and it was obvious that the agent took photos with their iPhone they were dark. They were, lights weren't on. I mean, there was stuff on the bed. I'm like, what is this? I mean, this is, a $900,000 property that agent would possibly make close to $30,000. They didn't even hire a professional photographer.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have a question about like the value of real estate. It's, from an experienced, seasoned agent's perspective. You see like, if you sell $1 million house every month, $12 million, right? Mm-hmm. But there's agents out there that are selling 30, 50, 100, I mean, even in some cases like $200 million houses. Mm-hmm. How does that feel as like an agent? Like seeing that, like, oh my gosh, like some people are selling like one house and it is, your entire year times 3 and it's one house.
Yeah. So you can track your business through units and volume, right? And really those are the 2 indicators that you do. And a lot of people track their business through volume because it sounds good.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. There's a very high-powered agent locally that I'm friends with, and they're awesome and they're amazing. And I watch them. And I literally go into and I look at what their stats are and I see where I am to them because I just aspire to be like them.
Yeah.
This year, and this was probably 4 years ago, I had my biggest year, one of my biggest years ever. Was like $18 million. I sold 65 houses. Wow. I was just burnt. I was just grinding. My average sale was $350,000. I looked up this agent. They sold twice as much real estate in half the transactions. So they worked half as hard and made twice the money. So that was a real eye-opener to me. And when I first got into the business, there was no mentorship. There was nothing. There was no Keller Williams. There was none of that. So I used to take seasoned agents to lunch and I would do this. I'd be like, so how do you do it? How do you do this? And there was a gentleman, Stephen Parkhurst, awesome real estate agent, developed this beautiful development in Cape Elizabeth and super cool dude. And I sat down with him and he's like, Nick, I learned very early on that I could sell a $250,000 house and makes X, or I could sell a $500,000 house and make Y. I do the same amount of work, but I'm gonna make twice the amount of money. So I'm gonna focus on the $500,000 house. And back then, when I first got into the business 22 years ago, it was, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because that actually, and then it was 7 apples to sell a house and not 6. Mm-hmm. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal.
So how, do you think in real estate, it's like people are going to stop focusing? Because why would you spend your time as an agent selling a $150,000 house or a $200,000 house when you can go and sell, a $1 million house? Because you're right, it is the same amount of work. So do you think people who have $100,000, $200,000 houses are just gonna?
No, I don't think so at all.
Because you have to service everybody. You never know what that person has, for other real estate or who they can connect you with. Right. I mean, it's a very slippery slope. You could be selling very low priced homes. However, that's a shift I made in my business. I took a breaking into luxury class and it was okay, you got to focus on the high end stuff. However, the high end friends, their friends are also very, high end property. I call it, we have luxury property and we have residential. I'll never call it low end property.
Right.
Yeah.
Big or small, sell them all. I just listed something, $50,000 piece of land and I've got something closing next week for $1.5 million. You service everybody. Just where is your energy and your focus going?
Right.
And it's the higher priced units.
Yeah.
So from that class, what are the top 3 things that you learned about selling luxury real estate over $1 million?
Yeah. Have an elevator pitch, present yourself and convey yourself in a way that people with high net worths are going to agree with. And then know your market. That's something I've really focused on, and I still focus on to this day, is I know the market and I can speak to, we're 37% down in units this year, or there's 15 condos on the market and only 2 under $500,000. These are things I bring up, and high net worth individuals, they care about the numbers.
Yeah. It's very important, right? To be knowledgeable. I mean, that's a differentiator. You come to the table knowing this. And you know your market, so you're going out and you're doing, do you go out and preview home places, Will?
I'm always looking at real estate.
Yeah.
A lot of times nowadays with Matterport and online, it's easy to kind of flip through. However, I make a point, go check out a couple of properties a week. What about you? You do that still?
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I do the same, especially if you want to, have things to talk about. And I pick certain price points in certain neighborhoods and areas, and I want to go look at all the $1 million places, because I want to know what's out there.
Good example of that. I had a buyer call me, personal referral the other day. They're $1.5 million buyer up at the mountain, showing them a couple new construction homes last weekend, and he was ready to put an offer on the home. I just stopped him. Yeah. I said, "Hey, this house has luxury vinyl plank flooring. It's listed for $850. I wouldn't pay a penny more than $700."
Yeah,
and I earned his trust right away.
Right.
Said, "I had no idea. Thank you."
Right.
However, you should know that's not the type of flooring that should be in a luxury mountain home. It's knowing your inventory, like you said, and I wouldn't have known that if I didn't go see what a house like that would have. And that's instant validation, and that's a point in the transaction that he'll tell all of his friends about. So things like that.
So it's funny how much time people will spend learning statistics and stats of their favorite baseball player or their favorite football player, but it's really interesting on how little time they'll spend investing in their own career or in their own life. If you imagine all the time and energy that you spent learning what, Barry Bonds was average hit and, how many home runs he did and all this other stuff, you could learn another language, so it's kind of like in the language of real estate. So Will, as a real estate agent, I'm sure, similar to myself, we don't have a retirement, right? So we have to create our retirement. I'm creating my own retirement through investing. Are you doing the same thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we talked before air, one house a year is the goal.
Right.
And the gentleman I worked with, he said, you got to be able to buy houses as quickly as you can safely. So invest in real estate early on. And that's what I did. First year in the business, I purchased my first investment property and have bought one a year consecutively.
So where are you investing?
Yeah. So wherever it makes sense. And I'm focusing on markets that I know myself. I don't do out of state. I think it's an interesting model. However, I'm focusing on the markets I work in because as an agent, there's no reason we shouldn't be investing in the asset class we know best. So I have a short-term rental up at the mountain, Sunday River, which I service. I have a short-term rental up at the Belgrade Lakes region, which is another area I focus on. And then I have a long-term rental in South Portland.
Okay.
Can you walk us through your first investment property, how you got your hands on it, how much cash you needed, and maybe like what type of a loan you applied for or people you partnered with?
Sure. So it was an off-market transaction. I tell people I'm actively prospecting every single day. It was a property I found when I was looking for listings, and the gentleman said, "I'll sell it," and the numbers made a ton of sense. He still offered to pay me a commission. So out of pocket, maybe $25,000 out of pocket.
And how old were you?
I was 19 years old.
19.
First year, second year ish in the business, and purchased that, acquired it. Made about half the down payment in commission. So
nice.
It's pretty helpful. And that property does about.
So that's one pro is you can put the commission towards the down payment. But then the second pro is you have access to the deals first, right? You have access to the MLS. And then also, something comes up for market, you have the right to buy it.
Exactly.
Right.
And I knew it was a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you know how to crunch the numbers.
Exactly.
So short term, what are you going to focus on? Are you going to have a mixture of long term, short term? Single families, houses, multifamilies? What's your sauce?
Yeah, I'd say for every 3 short-term rentals, 1 long-term rental, or I like the big multis. Once I can elevate my portfolio into that range. However, right now the short-term rentals they fluctuate a lot more, so you do have to be careful because you could be paying mortgages on 3 houses that are not making a penny.
Right.
However, how I run my numbers, there's multiple exit strategies. So I really do enjoy the short-term rental model. I'll be selling off my long-term rental, in the next year or two, and doing a 1031 exchange, what we call in the business for deferring our taxes, buying a multifamily there, and then continuing to snowball into more short-term rentals.
That's great. So you're really liking the short-term rental. What kind of cash-on-cash return are you saying?
Yeah, in the region that I'm investing in, it's an average of 19%.
It's huge.
Which it's a cash business, so it's a cash flow thing, right? So I want to be able to get my money back as quickly as possible. So with almost a 20% cash-on-cash return, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, 20% cash-on-cash return. And I think the Dow does never lost over 10 years, and it was an average of 9 to 10, right?
Yeah.
Something along those lines?
The S&P.
Yeah.
So can you explain what a cash-on-cash return is for our viewers who might not know?
Yeah.
And what the
in
significance
layman's
of it is?
terms, it's how quickly am I going to get the money that I've invested back? So if you put $150,000 down, right? How quickly am I going to get that $150,000 back, right? So in the short-term rental business, a lot of these investors, you want to put as a little down as you can up front. Now, you don't want to be dangerous with that, so consult your favorite real estate agent. And then how quickly can you get that back?
Yeah. So cash-on-cash, the way I look at a cash-on-cash return is if you're going to put $100,000 down and you're making 20% on that cash, you're making $20,000 a year.
Exactly. Which is phenomenal,
right?
Because you're getting
what you've essentially done is leveraged all of it, all the other stuff through loans.
Interesting. So cool. So this is called the 7-Figure Real Estate Podcast. So I think it's appropriate to ask, how do you plan to get, because last year you made a little north of $300,000. How do you plan to get to 7 figures through real estate?
Yeah.
Whether
So
it's
last
investing
year,
and as an agent.
it was, $250,000, a little bit over that. This year, I'm on track to probably a little less than double it with the momentum I have in my business. However, my goal is to grow through ancillary opportunities. So I think investing in real estate, I never want all my eggs in one basket. I think Nick's a great example of, you have your real estate investments in one basket, and then you have your sales business in the other. I don't need to make $1 million a year. With what I'm doing now, I'm confident I'll be able to retire by the time I'm 30 if I continue my success and my discipline. However, that's not the goal. So it's just staying steady and consistent, not letting it ever get to me or try to grow too quickly. Just keep growing a really strong real estate sales business that feeds my investing.
Yeah. And don't piss your money away.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't spend your money. Live below your means. Just delayed gratification.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What would you tell yourself 3 years ago, first getting into the business, that would make you succeed, help you get to where you are today faster?
Yeah.
Knowing what you know.
Really get intentional with where you want your business. As agents, we start all over the place, take whatever we can get. In hindsight, I've done pretty well pretty quickly. However, if I could have focused on my farm areas or my business niches quicker, I think that would have just been a compounding effect faster.
So focus on the niche.
Exactly.
Yeah. So focus on, hey, this is what I'm going to focus on. Get really purposeful on that one activity.
Purposeful is the word.
Yeah.
Keyword.
Yeah. And what books have you read to help excel this?
Yeah. Atomic Habits. What do we do every single day, even when we don't want to do them? And then pretty simple. It's the Red Bible, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Sure.
It has the framework for us. We just have to actually read it and follow it.
Right. And the last question that I want to ask is, do you have a morning ritual?
Yeah. It's everything's on my calendar, right? So I always say I need to be, doing something productive, lead generation, or, on an appointment by 9 o'clock every single day.
Okay.
So it's pretty regimented that way. And it's all time blocked out. So, usually it'd be, go to the gym first thing in the morning, then you're in the office by 9 making phone calls.
Great.
That's awesome. And one last thing before we wrap this up is I want to talk about another pro of being a real estate agent is referral fees. So let's say because you have your real estate agent license, you're allowed to refer people for real estate, and then you get real estate referral check. So let's say I referred $1 million buyer to you. What type of money would I see from that?
Yeah. So without breaking, rules on the air, it's a little murky. You could, you'll receive a portion of the gross commission income there. So I know.
Which is negotiated between the two agents.
Exactly. So I just got a nice referral check last week, and it was, we call it mailbox money. It's a nice little boost for doing nothing. You almost forget about it until it comes there.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.